Hi, this is Mike Cardis, and recently I was contacted by a group in Central America, and they said they were rolling out a bunch of facilitation work with their organization to identify current strengths, needs, opportunities, improvements, and exceptions inside their organization. And they typically have used a SWOT analysis to develop trends, to identify areas of need. For those of you who are familiar with strategic planning and other development programs, SWOT is very typical. It's a good tool. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. As I talk with this group more, I begin to identify that they wanted more of a solution-focused tool. And solution-focused typically means we're focusing on the present into the future. We see our past as a useful resource to help us see where we survived, how we excelled, and understand from the past what we did to be effective to the current moving forward. And it also utilizes parts we call exceptions. So exceptions are finding times a problem didn't happen. How did you make that happen? How'd that work? So as I was talking with the client in Central America, I said, hey, there's this tool I made years ago, and it's very popular, called noise analysis. And noise takes a typical SWOT, but turns it from a problem-focused discussion into a solution-focused discussion. And I'm going to share with you in a moment the noise analysis, some of the results they got, and help you understand how to use it in your organization. So to begin with, noise has 5 domains or 5 areas to focus on. N stands for needs. O is opportunities. I is improvements. S is strengths, and E is exceptions. And it's best for you to do this by yourself to figure out what you want to do in the future, or with a team to work on how to identify these current needs. So I'm going to pull up a mural that we did with the group and how they utilized it. So as you can see here, this is the mural we used. I created it. If any of you who are out there on the call want to copy this mural and you want to use the mural inside your organization, please email me or contact me. I can make a copy and send it off to you. So this is the noise analysis. So the overall idea here is just so you can do this by yourself or with your team utilizing the online technology. Here's the one we created. This is the blank template. I'll show you the one we created later on. So to begin with, here's a link. This link here will take you to the full noise write-up on how to do the activity, how to lead it. That goes through brainstorming. And you can see in the quadrants here, right, you start with strengths. Strengths are internal ideas, things you can control, thinking about what's currently working well inside your organization or inside your project or team. How do you know they're working well? What evidence do you see? What feedback are you getting? What proof do you have from this? What is the team currently good at? What is the organization good at? The team good at? The customer is good at? How do you know they're good at these things? How do we recognize that? And do you have examples? So in strengths, you're trying to pull out strength-based examples of what's worked pretty well and how to continue those pieces. Next, I would recommend you go on to needs. And needs are things that the agency currently needs or you currently need to be more effective in your work. So some prompting questions and needs are things like, if we just had X, this would be a better place to work, or would be more effective at completing our goals. I'm sure inside your work many times, you thought if we just had this thing, it would help us be better. This is where we want to list those needs. Organizational needs. What do we need as an organization? Do we need better systems? Do we need different project management software? Do we have to have a better sales flow process? And also individual needs. What do I need, or do my team members need to be more effective? So you're listing strengths and needs. Those both are relatively internal factors, things that focus on internal work to get done that you can have control over. Following needs, you would move into opportunities. And opportunities is your way of identifying what's happening in the current environment or outside your environment that you feel your organization, your project, your team, yourself ought to be more aware of, and how to begin to capture or identify those things. So for example, the prompting questions are other departments, other locations inside our organization, other companies, teams, et cetera, are doing this. We should also do that. Or what are the current areas of untapped or underutilized talent inside our organization? Or what do we currently have that could be used differently? Meaning you're finding exaptive opportunities to take current resources, use them uniquely or differently. what opportunities are we missing that we ought to be more aware of? This is a part where you and or your team can start looking at the external environment and figure out what trends are you seeing. And you would post-it note these here. The final part is improvements. These are improvements we made, relatively immediate short-term things to make better. So if we're thinking about strengths, what do we have that we excel at? Needs, what do we need to be more effective? Opportunities, what things can we capitalize upon? And improvements are sort of what we call small concrete improvements the team can make in the next 90 days. So you're trying to create quick wins, short steps to almost, we call them like base hits, to get you moving forward to create some momentum. Based on our strengths and our needs and opportunities, what areas can we currently improve? A consistent area of improvement I hear people oftentimes ask for is, one area of improvement we could support our capacity growth is, and people would list improvements here. The final part, which I really enjoy and makes this a different tool, is listing the exceptions, which would go in the center. So in solution-focused work, the idea of exceptions is a really powerful tool. And exceptions means there's always a time where you want something to happen that's already happening. Or if you're having a current problem or resource gap, there usually is a time when the resource gap of the problem was not as loud or noticeable. What were those times? So once you've gone through the strengths, the needs, the opportunities, and the improvements, you then ask folks to find inside those 4 areas parts of the work that are already happening even a little bit that we want to amplify or make louder. So inside here, you're figuring out, these things we're already doing, can we make these vibrations or these positive areas get louder and increase this, which is a deep pattern recognition for complex work and complexity science. Complexity science and the idea of sort of understanding adaptive process to your environment is always a question of saying, what's currently working well for us that we have to amplify and make louder, and what's currently not working so well we can make quieter. And how do we make these things louder? How do we make these things quieter? So in the exceptions, you would pull out some parts and add them inside here. So overall, that's the framework for the noise analysis. I'm going to take us to a different one now. I'm going to bring you into a different noise and show you one of a completed process. And again, the idea is that you get your team together, you have them walk through the process. You can post-it note it like I showed you in the example, or you can use the framework that I can send you, or you can make one yourself. Here's a completed one. That we completed. And again, you can see the same process. Here's where they listed all the strengths that they put inside here. And we use this technology. There was a team, again, from Central America. It was done virtually over the internet through using this technology. We connected this together and we developed this. And this eventually led to them developing their 3-year strategic priorities. And we clarified the priorities from realized, unrealized, and emergent opportunities from this discussion. Here's your strengths. Here was a bunch of the needs that they identified. Here is a bunch of the opportunities they thought were relevant to the work they were doing. And here is a bunch of the improvements they also thought were relevant to how to make the work better in short process. And on the exceptions, they just took 4 areas that were currently working relatively well they wanted to see improved or enhanced inside their organization. So what they were purposely doing was front-loading or psychologically moving their team to find these pieces to notify the good things that are happening to create more notice of this, to create more patterns of recognition. Same thing inside the needs, same thing inside the opportunities and the improvements. So I hope you can see how within your team you could do this process, have them go through the noise analysis, and then take these ideas and transfer them into planning documents and begin to identify in the planning documents what current ones need expert support, what can we do right away, how do we run multiple safe-to-fail experiments, and how do we make sense of this? So by using the noise analysis, you are creating progress-focused or solution-focused discussions to figure out what in our current to our future can we enhance, What about our past was affected against where we currently are? And how do we create ways to identify what we want to have happen more often? Thank you. This was a noise analysis overview by Mike Cardis from Organization Development by Mike Cardis. Have a great day.